Welcome everyone to the 2024 expedition webinar, call, whatever you want to call it. I never know what to call these things anymore because as marketing goes, they tend to keep changing what works and doesn't work. But this is your opportunity to learn about our expeditions, and I'm going to go through a slideshow presentation for you on what it all entails and what to expect. I just literally 2 days ago got home from Kenya from our 35th expedition. It was my 25th expedition that I've run to Kenya. And so we've got this down to a system and it works really well. It was an absolutely phenomenal expedition, probably one of the best that we've had in terms of what we were able to accomplish. And each expedition builds on each other. And so as we go through and you see the types of projects that we do, just know that when we have an expedition, like as an example, Becky McIntosh, who's on here, just ran an expedition in October, and we just built on her expedition. And then the next expedition in February or March will build from there, January, February, March. So we're going to go over the details and everything that you need to know in order to make a decision. But just know we've taken 360 people, so we know what we're doing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with sharing. And I want to make sure that you can all see what I'm sharing. You can all see this expedition to Kenya? Okay, perfect. Yep. Awesome. All right, so our expeditions are typically 10 days total and 8 days on the ground. The 10 days is travel. So as you leave the United States, you'll be leaving here usually late afternoon. And then you'll arrive in Amsterdam or Paris or whatever your European layover is. You'll arrive there and then be there for a couple of hours and then get to Nairobi at 10 p.m. at night. Nairobi, depending on the time, if we're in daylight savings time or not, is either 9 hours ahead or 10 hours ahead of us. So that first day you lose a day, and on the way home you gain a day. It's kind of wonky, but there it is. If any of you have traveled internationally, this is something that you're used to. So it is 10 days total. When we land in Nairobi, you basically go through visa and customs, and then you go straight to the hotel and go to sleep so that you wake up the next day and we hit the road and we're on to our first location. So that's why we say 10 days total, because you are in transit some of those days. Typically, our expeditions will leave on a Thursday afternoon, evening, and then get back the Sunday a week later. So you do have the 2 weekends of travel, but it makes it so that people who work full time don't have to take as much time off during that process. So, all right. The reason why we do these expeditions is that millions of the rural poor in Kenya are suffering from lack of clean water, food, and hygiene. Our 4 pillars are sustainable food, clean water, education, and health. But our big focus on expeditions is sustainable food, clean water, and health. And education is typically, unless we're doing a big training, like we just did in November, typically our education is more school fees and supplies and things like that. So I want to talk to you about these 3 problems. When a family is struggling with how to eat, nothing else matters. Day after day, their thoughts are consumed by the same fear, which is, how will I feed my children? Part of the challenge that we have if we do training is that we are taking women often away from their day-to-day chores that maintain their family. And so we like to be careful with the time of year and what we're doing with the training so that we make it really valuable. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Clean water. Women and girls are often burdened with the endless task of walking great distances to fetch dirty water from contaminated rivers, streams, and even stagnant ponds. And in some of the areas that we work, like on the Maasai Mara, those women are also in danger of being trampled by elephants, Cape buffalo, attacked by lions. So they not only share their water source with cows and goats, which contaminate the water, but also big game animals. So they have to time when they go, when they're least likely to get attacked, which is just ridiculous because they're spending 5 or 6 hours a day just going for water. And then health, when a girl begins menstruating and doesn't have access to pads, she misses school. As a result, many girls exchange pads for sex. This should never happen. We also have other tools that we use to help with health. We have a reproductive health training, and then we have Cindy Miller's Hope Sack program as well that helps to reduce the amount of time that women spend cooking over the fire, therefore helping the smoke in their lungs. So these are the problems that we are addressing. Within each of our pillars, we have smaller projects that we are working on to address these problems, but this is the big picture of what we're trying to do in these locations. When you join a 100 Humanitarians International expedition, your life will never be the same. I think Jana's on this call. She just went on her first expedition with us. And I like to say, you know, you really experience 2 years of personal growth and change in about 10 days. You engage your 5 senses: sight, smell, taste, sound, and touch. You will feel God and intense love for humanity. While these are not religious focused trips, Kenya is a country that very much embraces faith, and they will talk about God and Jesus Christ in almost every conversation. And so while these expeditions don't align with any particular religion, we do engage in conversations with them about God and about their faith, and that it's just part of the culture. You will experience deep, heartfelt, and tangible connections with the people. You will realign and calibrate your energy by spending 8 days in nature. So you're getting very grounded in nature. You will immerse yourself in a different and beautiful culture. There are 2 tribes that we work with primarily on expeditions: the Maasai tribe and the Kalenjin tribe. The Kalenjin tribe are the runners. Most of the Olympic runners come from the Kalenjin tribe, although there's been a Maasai runner or 2. And you will have insights that will guide you to create changes when you get home. I tell trip participants that I am just as invested in the experiences and the change that take place in them as I am in the experience or in the changes that are taking place in the community. So this is a shared experience. It's not just about going over there and creating change and saving the world. It's actually a collaborative experience where we are sharing, they are sharing with us, we are sharing with them. So it's just as much for you as it is for them. The projects that we're going to be working on, each team will have links to send to friends and family for fundraising. And so we determine the projects based on the team that comes together. But typically, we are accomplishing projects that fall under our 4 pillars. So we do garden towers, which provide a sustainable way for families to grow their own food. We do a clean water project that includes either rainwater capture tanks, which are the big rubber tanks that they can attach to their roofs to capture rainwater, a spring protection project, and we have since added boreholes in partnership with the organization Who Lives, as well as I just connected with somebody on my trip a couple weeks ago who will drill the deep boreholes for us, and he will do that between $6,000 and $10,000, which is substantially less expensive than we've been dealing with in areas that are super dry and that need the deep boreholes. Education, each team will sponsor a student in school, and then they'll provide hope kits for women and girls to support feminine hygiene needs. Then we have special projects as determined by the expedition teams. As I mentioned, we just did a huge training on the November expedition that just wrapped up, where we were providing the training for women and girls to learn to sew their own underwear. The reason why this is important is because underwear in Kenya is rape prevention, and it is also needed in order to use any feminine hygiene kits. It's also required for students when they go to school to purchase at least 6 pairs of underwear. So in teaching them this method, and this method was designed by Marissa Waldrop, who is on this call. She's our programs director. She created a 3-piece underwear pattern that does not require elastic. And so it can be made out of t-shirts, stretch knit fabric, basically anything that they can find that would be comfortable, of course, but it gives them access to something that believe it or not, a lot of women and girls don't have access to simply underwear. We heard a story several years ago from one of our community directors that when she was growing up and she was in school, every Wednesday, they checked to see if the girls were wearing underwear. The teachers would do this. And if they weren't wearing underwear, they would be caned, which just seems ridiculous, but that's where, that was the standard. And so she would find pieces of fabric and just figure out how to attach it to her legs so it looked like she was wearing underwear. Since then in her life, and she's gone on to be very successful in her life. She lived in Canada for 26 years before moving back to Kenya to be able to help her community. She said she buys underwear everywhere she goes. It's just psychological that she needs to always have extra pairs. So this underwear project is very significant to the women and girls. Last Friday, we taught 105 Maasai women at our training center how to sew the underwear, and the reports keep coming in. They're like, we want to come and do this every single week. How do we do this? So it really, those special projects are things that are based on the makeup of the team that is going to Kenya and what your individual skills are as well. And 100% of the donations made by your family and friends will go towards the projects on your expedition. As far as accommodations, this is a big question that people ask us all the time. In Nairobi, we typically stay at the Crown Plaza, or we stay at Hotel Troy, depending on how many people we have on the team and the cost of the trip based on what we're trying to do. But we typically get off the plane in Nairobi, and then we stay at the Crown Plaza because it's on site at the airport. And then on the Maasai Mara, we stay at Coco's Guest House, which is a house that my mom built for our teams to be able to stay in. And it has 8 bedrooms. It sleeps 8. It has 4 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. And that makes it really nice and handy because we're right there on the Maasai Mara. I seem to be getting a little bit of feedback. Is anyone hearing that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to mute all. Okay. There we go. Hopefully that helps. Let me go back for a second. And then if we do, depending on where we're doing projects, we'll sometimes stay in Narok. We did that on this trip because it's halfway in between Bomet, which is where the Kalenjin tribe is, and that's where we have a lot of big garden tower projects, and the Maasai Mara. So the Maasai Mara and Bomet, where you will go on almost every trip, is about 2.5 hours away, and Narok staying in Narok supports that in the middle. So you'll have a different variety of accommodations. We are very, we don't want Americans to get sick. We don't want you to have, this is not an expedition where you're staying in horrible accommodations to learn a lesson. We don't want to teach you that lesson. I have stayed in very horrible accommodations in Kenya, and I feel like it's very important for us to be able to get a good night's sleep and feel comfortable and able, in order to be able to not only enjoy the experience, but to really be able to connect with the people. There are warm showers, I said most of the time, because it's Kenya, Hakuna Matata. Sometimes it might not be. So, all right. And then with transportation, we'll be in buses and Jeeps driven by professional drivers and guides the entire time. We rotate through different guides depending on who's available. And during high season, depending on when you're going on a trip during high season, it can be more challenging just because they're busy, and high season is in July, August, and September during the migration. Food, all meals except for the junky snacks we bring. And I will just tell you that on this November expedition, I was astonished. I thought, oh, these 12 women, they're all kind of healthy minded, and we had more Halloween candy than we've ever had on a trip. I mean, everybody dumped their candy out, and I was like, I've never seen such crappy food. It was great. But it's usually clean, whole food prepared by trained chefs. Meals included, breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, unless we're on the road, and then we'll eat snacks for lunch usually. But we do, when we are visiting our different communities, we do arrange for lunch to be made on site so that we can share a meal with the community. And then the meals excluded are the airport meals and meals on our final afternoon, evening in Nairobi right before we go to the airport. So all of this food that you see here was created by our chef Mancha, who is at our cultural center at our guest house, and he is on retainer. He makes the best food in Kenya, hands down, and so that's why we keep him on retainer. But he's absolutely wonderful, and everybody leaves wanting to know his recipes. His soups are to die for. So excursions and extras. We do go on safari. We have cultural experiences. You will always have access to bottled drinking water, and then some special swag that we have for you throughout the trip just to create a more impactful experience. So all of that is included in the price of the trip. We try to make it as much all-inclusive as possible, and I'll go into that a little bit more, but not included are sodas, specialty drinks at safari camps, and souvenirs. So the 3 S's. All right, so in order to go on a trip, the first thing is to sign up for the trip. We do require full payment at the time of sign up so that we're able to get the trip set up according to our plan. We are not a travel agency. We had significant challenges in the past where we took different like deposits and things like that. It caused a lot of challenges for us because we were constantly trying to track down getting different payments, and our admin team is not paid salaries. So this is, I mean, I'm not paid a salary. Marissa's not paid a salary. So this becomes a challenge for us if we're spending hours and hours trying to do that. And so we just ask that if you're going to go on the trip, that you put it on a credit card and make those payments to the credit card versus to us. Our payment portal is set up so that there are no fees taken out. We use a platform called Zephy, and when you sign up for the trip, you just simply choose 0 platform fees. The way that they do it is kind of like GoFundMe, where you can contribute to the platform to keep it going because they don't take out any fees for us. So that's what makes it awesome, because we're not having to deal with you signing up for a trip and then, you know, like $70, $80, $100 of that is taken off the top because of paying for fees. So the first thing to do is to sign up for the trip. The second thing to do is to purchase your flight. We work with a travel agency called Unrivaled Travel Experiences to book all of our flights, and we need to make sure that we all arrive at the same time to reduce trips to and from the airport. Unrivaled Travel Experiences can also help you use Sky Miles to book your flights. And so Susie Gustafson is the owner, and she can help with all of that. And when you book with Unrivaled Travel Experiences, she donates a percentage of her commissions from that back to 100 Humanitarians. So it's that's why we use her. And so it's just a matter of getting everything coordinated. And then 3 is attend the info calls. We have 3 calls prior to our trip. The first is the kickoff call, which is around 60 days prior to travel. The second is the visa fundraising call, which is 30 days before we leave. And that's where we're going through filling out your visa, which is an online process. When people were doing it just a few weeks ago, they would fill out the visa form and then get their visa back within 12 to 24 hours. So it is a fast turnaround. And then the final call is a week before our trip, where we go over all of the things you need to know to get ready for Wheels Up. We do run our expeditions all of our projects are run in a platform called Basecamp. So when you join an expedition, you'll be added to our Basecamp that has all of the training and all of the information that you need to go through in order to make the trip successful. So what is included? all accommodations, all transportation, all food and water except for airport and final meals in Nairobi, and all excursions and extras. And what is not included are your flights, and that's to Kenya and in country if there are any in-country flights, which is not typical. Trip insurance is required. The kind of trip insurance, there's two types of trip insurance out there. One is medical. So if anything does happen to you, you're covered by medical insurance to get you out of the country, or to take care of medical expenses in the country. And then there is trip insurance for canceling. So we require the medical insurance. We are not able to refund trips when they're canceled once the funds are sent over to Kenya. And so just depending on when you're coming into a trip, typically we have all of those expenses sent over, and then there's no way really for us to get it back. So we either need to work to find a replacement in order for you to get refunded, or you just get it as, you just do it as a donation. We give you a tax receipt, and we're usually, if that happens, we're typically spending it on having our in-country directors come and join us in your place. So it is used for good, but we just don't have that capacity to be able to get money back and forth because of the nature of the trip and because the funds are going to different people. So if you are concerned that you may need to cancel for any reason, then that's a separate trip insurance that you would need to look into. And that's something that Susie Gustafson can help with as well at Unrivaled Travel Experiences. So soda and specialty drinks, by specialty drinks, I mean alcohol. If we're staying at a safari camp, that's available. If we're staying on site at our guest house, then we don't have alcohol available. But we do have sodas if you want to order those. And then the visa is about $50. I think it's $52 now with the fees. It's about $50 online. And that's just something that you do separately. All right, so these are the frequently asked questions that people always ask, and I will leave some time at the end of this for any other questions that come up. What about shots and meds, packing, and weather? So when you sign up for a trip, you're going to have access to all of our training materials that will answer all of your questions, as well as in the calls. And they include packing lists, checklists, all of the details to ensure your expedition is the best experience possible. However, here are the short answers. No shots or meds are required, but check with your doctor. We are not able to make that call for you. The ones that might be recommended by a doctor would possibly be typhoid, yellow fever, and then your different hepatitis shots. But that is something that you work out with your doctor. No shots or meds are required to enter Kenya from the United States. If you are coming from another country or going to another country, we've had some people who have come to Kenya and then they've gone on to Tanzania to go to Zanzibar or whatever because they're in the country. Then a yellow fever shot will be required if you're going from Kenya to another country that has yellow fever, or vice versa. But if you are coming from the United States and going back, they are not required. As far as medicine, the recommended medicine would be malaria medicine. Some people have negative effects from that. And so we do have natural remedies that we recommend as well. That is all in the training. So that just is up to you whether or not you want to take conventional medicine, natural medicine, what you want to do about that. And that is something that we discuss on our first call. Pack light, you get to carry your suitcases, and the weather is unpredictable. So we had a lot of rain when we were there in November. It just depends on the time of year, but you do have, we do have a comprehensive packing list. And I don't know why I have this drink here for weather, but maybe it's just to remind us that Kenya can be hot at times, and that's a refreshing beverage. But the weather is unpredictable. So, and the humor is that 100 Humanitarians brings the rain, because it seems to always rain when our teams are there, no matter what the time of year is. Oh, this is not accurate. Okay, so upcoming trips. let me see if I have anything beyond here. Upcoming trips. Let me talk to you about that. We have, in 2024, we have different trips that are coming up. We have a men's trip in January. We have Becky's trip, Becky McIntosh. She's on this call. We have her trip in February, and that is the Share the Love trip that she and her husband Scott run every year. In March, Marissa is taking a team of dentists. That's going to be a dental focused trip. There is a clinic on the Maasai Mara that has space for a dental clinic that is not set up. And so that team is going to be it's going to be kind of a construction trip of sorts, where they're going to be getting things set up for the equipment to come in and to be able to run dental trips. We're partnered with Ensign Dental Academy on that, and they have dentists that are doing service trips. And then we have our June trips. We have the beginning of June with Amy Roberts. She's our education director, and that is more of a teacher's trip. They're going to be working with a couple of schools that we support. There's a school on the Maasai Mara called Ovalet, and it is a very poor school. It is not government run. And so, and the curriculum is designed to be anti-FGM. FGM is female genital mutilation or female circumcision that they are trying to end. It is illegal in Kenya, but there are tribes that practice it, and they're trying to end that at this school. And so we've done garden tower projects, water projects, things like that and I just took over some phonics books for the director, Miss Lucy, to check out. So that teachers group is going to be going at the beginning of June. And then I will be running a trip June 20th through 30th. That's just an open trip. It is a trip that teens and kids can go on. And so like I said, it's just an open trip with no specific theme. And then our fall trips will most likely be September, October, and November. We haven't discussed, we have our board retreat in a few weeks, and then we'll figure out who's running those trips. I typically run the November expedition every year, and the November expedition is typically all women. So September and October are more open trips. And the reason why is that girls are out of school in November. And so we can do more girls and women's focused projects. So we do have a lot of opportunity for trips next year, and all of our team leads are phenomenal. So it doesn't matter who you go with. If you go with Becky, you're going to be in lots of selfies, and she's going to love on you. Becky is the queen of selfies, right, Beck? Can you?
I'm muted.
Okay,
I guess you could say that, but I think you beat me by quite a ways from your last November trip. That was selfies.
Right, because I took selfies with I never take selfies, and I took selfies with every single member of our group. It was funny. I was like, okay, I've got to do all the selfies. So that was fun. So thanks. Okay, so let's open this up to any questions. Have I covered everything? Are there questions that you have about anything that we've discussed so far? And you can also post in the chat, or I believe you can unmute yourself.
So I stepped out for a minute. What's the total cost for one trip?
So the cost is $39.50 plus the flight and the visa, and then trip insurance. And that $39.50 includes everything on the ground. It also just, you'll have to talk to your accountant about it, but because it is a service trip, parts of it can be written off because we are doing humanitarian work. So we do issue receipts. We are a 501c3. So we can issue you those receipts, and then you can talk to your accountant about what part can be written off. And we are doing service every single day. So there is some sort of service project. Even if we're going on safari, then we'll do something in the afternoon. Any other questions, or am I that good? All right, awesome. Okay, so Marissa, do you just want to share a little bit about your experience and how you got involved with 100 Humanitarians? Marissa is our programs director. Want you to be able to get to know our team a little bit.
Sure. So I met Heidi back in the beginning of 2017, and after watching her go on a couple of expeditions, I just talked to her one day and I said, hey, I love what you're doing. I'd love to help somehow. Here's my skills. And after telling her my skills, she was like, well, hey, can you make an underwear pattern? Because I'm a professional seamstress and pattern designer, among other things. And I was like, sure, that's not a big deal. So I created the underwear pattern that the November team just taught all these women and girls how to sew, and sent it over with Heidi on their next trip. She was like, you should come that trip. And I was like, that's only 6 weeks away and I do not have a passport yet. So I sent the pattern with her. And then my first trip happened in June of 2018. And I've been on 10 expeditions now and looking forward to my next one. I have 4 boys at home. I am the programs director. I run the Garden Tower program. I make sure that the water projects we do run smoothly along with Heidi. Any of the health projects I help facilitate as well. So I'm kind of have my hands in every project that we do over in Kenya to make sure things run smoothly and the proper training happens and just everything goes well.
Awesome, thank you. And Marissa's a rock star. Like, we could not do this work without her. Becky, do you want to share your experience and some of the things that you've done?
Sure. Yeah, so Heidi and I have been friends for a while before she started this up. I really wanted to go on that first trip, wasn't able to do that our first time over, but I think it was your third trip over in 2016, which was my first time, and I absolutely loved it. Knew this was something I needed to be a part of, and I knew that if I was going to make multiple trips to Kenya, I needed to get my husband on board. So I had him come with me the next year, and he also fell in love with the people and a safari and saw what I loved and my passion. And then my husband has a construction background, so asked Heidi if we could lead a team of a building team, a share the love team. And so that's how that was started. In the February team, my husband and I typically attract a lot more men or couples, but it is open to also single people. And there's usually some sort of building project that we do on that trip. And then I've also led the October trip the last couple of years. Like Heidi said, I just returned from that trip. It was a phenomenal trip. The people are just magical. It's amazing going over each year and seeing the growth in the communities within the families. Like Heidi said, the teams, they build upon each other, and it is very evident when you go back, which is really thrilling to see the progress. And Heidi and Marissa do a great job keeping things rolling.
Thank you. And then I'm going to just put Jana on the spot if she's still on here. She just turned off her camera. I'm going to put Jana on the spot because she just barely returned. We've been talking to each other at 2 o'clock in the morning because we're both still awake from jet lag, and just have her share a little bit about her experience.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I am still jet lagged, but so worth it. So worth it. Yeah, I met Heidi actually just a couple of months ago, and but doing something like this has kind of always been on my bucket list. And so when she invited me to go to Kenya, I thought, when else am I going to be able to go do something with Humanitarian and also do a safari and have it be so well organized and so like well-oiled machine? you know, it's just amazing to be part of an organization that has that. And then also when we were there, just seeing the evidence of 100 humanitarians and that consistency of a group coming back over and over and over, that trust that has been built with the Maasai tribe and the connections that have been made with the community directors there. And that was just like miraculous. I mean, if you want to see miracles, like go on an expedition. We saw so many, but so many came, like Becky was saying, because of all of the people that have gone, the previous groups that have gone, and seen what they have done, and then being able to add a little piece from what our group did, knowing that there's other groups going, you know, further down that can also build on it. So you know, I just say it was heartbreaking, soul stretching, life changing. And I'm a homebody, and I'm like scared to death of travel, and I can't wait to go back. I feel like Kenya is just another home for me, but a lot of it is because of what this group has done. And the people are amazing. Like they just are so loving, and yeah. So I'm forever tied to 100 humanitarians. I can't, you can't get rid of me now.
Woohoo! That's the goal. That's the secret goal. Thanks, Jana and Becky and Marissa. So yeah, our focus is to really go deep in communities to create sustainable change. And the only way to do that is not to go in on a 10-day expedition and kind of fire hose and say, all right, here you go, here's your handouts, and now we're out of here. It's to dig deep, to build those relationships of trust, to let them know that we're coming back. So there's an accountability and a stewardship on both sides. And as a result, we've been able to impact around 10,000 families in Kenya over the years with different projects. So whether it's clean water, whether it's our garden tower project that we're running, Marissa has the actual stats on that, but no matter what we're doing, or children that we're sponsoring in school, or the Hope Kits, we've distributed over 8,000 of our Hope Kits in Kenya, bringing reusable feminine hygiene to thousands of girls. And, you know, we've done workshops around that. You know, everything that we do is all about teaching, training, mentoring, bringing tools to these girls, these women and girls, so that, and men as well, but bringing these families sustainable solutions. Our model is designed to help a family rise above the poverty line of $1.90 a day within 18 months to 2 years if they are working with us. And we've really, truly seen miracles with that. Marissa and I get messages every single day from our community directors that talk about women who have gone on to sell extra vegetables and pay for their kids' school fees, pay for supplies. They're able to buy additional food for their families, and they are facing a substantial hunger crisis because of COVID and because of all of the challenges in the world, where their food supplies are being cut off and prices are skyrocketing. In the time we've been going to Kenya, it used to be that a dollar was about 100 shillings, and now a dollar is about 150 shillings. So they've lost about like 50% of their money value. That's in our favor, you know, like for sure. But they've lost, we're able to do a lot more with our dollars because of it, but they have lost value in their money. And so anything we can do to teach them how to grow their own food, to help clean up their water supply and provide greater access to clean water, impacts their health, impacts their education. Anything we can do, that's what we're focusing on. And we've been really successful. And the reason why we go deep, we have not expanded to other countries. And the reason why is because it is super challenging just setting up the infrastructure in one country. And there are so many other organizations that do well in other countries. We've got partners that go to Guatemala. We've got partners in Haiti, although you can't go to Haiti right now. We've got partners in Ghana. And you know, through the USANA Foundation, they're starting to do public service trips to the Philippines and different areas. So this is something where we feel like we've really been able to gain traction and make an impact in Kenya, and would like to continue to go deep in building those relationships so that we can see the impact 20 years from now. So that is why we get that question a lot. Are you going to expand to other locations? That is not in my plans right now. We may have other people on our team that want to expand to other locations. They are welcome to do the work. It has taken me 8 years to build what I've built in Kenya, and I would love to just continue to see the impact of that. And we could literally spend the rest of my life working in Kenya, and there would still be the challenges of poverty, but we can create a ripple effect. So any other questions before we wrap up? I want to keep this at about 45 minutes so that it's easy viewing, and but feel free to reach out to us as well to ask questions. You can sign up for our email list, and then you get notifications on when expeditions are happening. That's at 100humanitarians.org. I'll just put that in the chat. And if 2024 is not the right time for you, we'll be going in 2025. So we'll continue to go, and we'll continue to run several trips per year to give everybody an opportunity to attend when they can. So any questions before we wrap up? Okay, then.
Oh, one quick question. What's the portal to sign up?
So if you go to 100humanitarians.org/expeditions, we have the links for the open trips right now. When are you thinking of joining us?
I don't know. I have to look at it, and I don't know if my wife's going to come or if I'm just going to go by myself, but we'll probably go together, and not sure which one.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we'd love to have you for sure. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining us today. And please share this video with people that you know who want to go on an expedition, and let them know that they are welcome. And we will do more of these Zoom webinars so that we can reach as many people as possible. As I mentioned, I am just as invested in you having a phenomenal experience on this and having it change you for the better as I am for these communities, because we're all in this together. We're all on this planet together, and the idea is to learn from each other. So thank you so much, and we hope to see you on a future trip. Have a great day.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you.